Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's a match preview of West Ham United against Crystal Palace. Back-to-back wins for West Ham after defeating Newcastle 3-0 and Cardiff City 3-1 during the week. Not quite the same for Crystal Palace, though. They battered Burnley with shots on target and scored 2, but then they got battered themselves by Brighton during the week. Charlie, what's your thoughts on the Eagles?
I feel some sort of empathy for them, actually. I think they're a bit similar to us in that they just can't seem to get that next step forward. They've been in the league for so long now and just can't seem to go any further than they have done. They consistently make these sort of seemingly big money, big moves to make it to that next step, to make it to the next level, like Benteke, like Sacco, like Maya, and they just don't seem to do it. It seems to be the same result over and over again. And when they did show ambition managerially and got a new fresh face and a new attacking manager, which was meant to be their next big step forward, it didn't work out, and then they went straight back to form again. So I feel empathy for the fans because I think if anyone knows how that feels, it's us.
Mike, what about yourself? They're sitting in 15th place so far, but what's your opinion on Crystal Palace?
I agree with Charlie, actually. I think he's pretty much now where they're at. They've got a few things going for them. If you go to the away game, which I always try and do there because it is great fun, they are quite lovely people at Palace. They fly an eagle around the pitch before the game. That's always a plus. And they have a wicked away strip. Watch out for it if you're at the game, people. See, that is the best thing Palace will display on Saturday, I'm telling you now. That is a killer away strip. But other than that, it's just a bit moribund from them. They're not going to go down, are they? But they've scored, 11 goals? Boring there.
I think that's a problem. They just don't have a goal scorer. Zaha was sort of carrying them last season a bit, keeping them up, firing the goals, and he's sort of stopped scoring for whatever reason recently. And now they're struggling a little bit. I think Roy's done, to be honest with you. I think he's done at Selhurst Park. The fans are starting to turn on him a little bit. Understandably, I don't blame them whatsoever. He was the right man to come in at the time and keep them up. And they did it against all odds when they lost 7 games in a row or something, and they defied history to stay up in the Premier League. That was fine. But we are now going through a pattern. And I think they hired Frank de Boer a season too early, actually, because he got brought in while British managers were still bubbling around in the Premier League. Allardyce was still kicking about. Moyes was still kicking about. Lambert, Hughes, they were all still kicking around, whether they were in the Premier League or they were coming back into the Premier League, one or the other. This season, we're now seeing them get sacked and not employed by anybody. We've just seen Mark Hughes get sacked by Southampton, for example, and they've gone to the Bundesliga and got a manager. We're now seeing slightly more adventure from the clubs down the bottom. I just think Crystal Palace were probably one step ahead, unfortunately. And when the going got a little bit tough and sticking by the manager, the boardroom bottled it a little bit and thought, okay, we need to do something here. It worked for last season. I think it's caught up with them this season now a little bit. Charlie, do you think they should be sticking with Roy, or do you think it's time for change at Selhurst Park?
I like Roy Hodgson as a manager. I think he's the best of that collection that you're alluding to, the Allardyces, the Moyes, the Hugheses, that collection of like defensive-minded, quite boring, incredibly depressing English managers. I think he's the best out of that lot, and I quite like him as a manager. But having said that, I do think his time is up at Palace, and I think it's similar to how Moyes was basically saved by Arnautovic. I think in a lot of ways, Roy was saved by Zaha. I think without him hitting the insane purple patch he did, I don't think they would have done anywhere near as well as they did last year. And I think he probably wouldn't be in the job now. And I think we get into the stage now where it's sort of caught up with him a little bit. And they apart from that win against Burnley, have really, really struggled this season. So I think for them, they should be looking towards the next guy. But it's who is that next guy? Because last time, like you say, they went adventurous and it didn't go well for them. So who the heck do they get?
Mike, you just said a couple of minutes ago there that they won't go down. I'm not necessarily sure I agree with you on that. I think they're in danger of going down, truth be told. But is staying up enough for Crystal Palace? I mean, should their ambitions be just to stay in the Premier League? I mean, at what point do they, as Charlie said, try and take the next step up?
Where are they going? I mean, it's one thing to say they need to take the next step up. Next step up to what? Where? They're not. I just don't view them as a team that are going to challenge for Europe. The next step up for them is what, 10th? Yeah, 10th, 11th. That's as high as they're going to get. So I think that's. I'm sorry, Palace fans. I think you're lovely. I think you've got a lovely club. I think, well, Palace fans are a bit like us. I think they know that as well. What they want more is some attacking football. They want to watch some flair. They want to be entertained. And I think they are very much, as Johnny said at the start, they're very much like us. We've obviously now got this bigger stadium and more money to play with because of that and whatever. But I just think that Palace have done their restructuring, brought in financiers. Roy Hodgson, he is a bit boring, I agree. But on the other hand, that's the most you're going to get out of that team. They are where that team will put them. They were actually pretty good defensively, but they don't score goals. You know why? Because they've got some good defenders, and apart from Zaha, they haven't got any attackers. It's basic, the ergonomics of a football team, isn't it?
Well, that'll make this next question interesting. Charlie, who do you fear from Crystal Palace apart from Zaha?
That's unfair. Who do I fit? Jesus Christ.
The silky passing skills of Cheku Kiate are coming to get us.
I mean, you know, he has a tendency to pop up in the box, I guess. I think they have players who can do it in spurts, but no one who is anywhere near consistent. Townsend will score 3 absolute worldies a season and then do nothing for the rest of the season. That's just what he does. He'll score 3 bangers over the course of 12 months, and for the rest of it, be shocking. He might score one of those. I think IU is capable of being a better and more consistent striker than he has been. Who else is actually there? That's good. No one really, in it. I think Maya looked good, actually, to be fair. I think Maya had a good game against, was it Man United? I think he played quite well against and started to look, and Burnley. And I think he started to look like, oh, there's the money they've paid for him. But then again, proceeded to have an absolute shocker against Brighton. So they have people who are capable of damaging, but no one is anywhere near as consistent as Zaha is. And even Zaha is an inconsistent footballer, if you ask my opinion.
Mike, same question for yourself. Is anyone you're feeling from the Eagles?
It's Zaha and the other blokes, isn't it? If you're going to fear them, they've got a reasonable defence. Tompkins, as we know, can defend, and Sakho's pretty good. The wonderfully named Wan-Bissaka as well. But I think if they really want to do some damage, they should wheel that eagle they fly around the pitch before games and put him in a shirt and send him out. It'd probably do better for them. Townsend, you're absolutely right. He will score a worldie. He scored his worldie for these couple of months in a couple of weeks ago or a couple of games ago. That'll be it from him. I mean, who else is there really? Do you know what I mean? There is Zaha and some other people. Maya, he really fits. I think he's still adjusting to the Premier League. I think maybe from January you'll see more of him because that's why he fits in now. A bit like Anderson was doing earlier in the season for us, if you know what I mean. You have a good game then. I think that's typical of players adapting to the Premier League. But there isn't really anyone. Cheku Kiate, no, he's going to get us.
Well, Kiate is definitely someone I'm not fearing, actually. I think he's actually going to have his best game for West Ham on Saturday. For at last, I'll be waiting for him to see him contribute for us at the London Stadium. He might just do that. I'm surprised neither of you have mentioned Van Aanholt. I think he's a very, very good. I think he's one of the best left backs outside the top 6, actually. He will cause us trouble down that side, regardless of who we have. Right mid or right back, he will cause trouble. I think they've got 2 really, really good fullbacks, but the problem is that's where it stops, really. I think MacArthur's a hard-working midfielder with very limited influence on the game going forward. For example, I think Townsend's hard-working, but as you said, he'll bang out a couple of decent goals, but he's very inconsistent. It must be extremely frustrating watching him play, especially when you know he has ability. You just don't see it very often. But anyway, that's enough slagging off Crystal Palace, unfortunately. The boats are running on Saturday, so you fancy a burger and a beer before or after the game. You can get your tickets in the link, which is in the description below. Kids go free all season, as always, and we'll hopefully see you there before and after. Team news for West Ham, we've got no Aaron Creswell and we've got no Marko Natovic, who's out until 2019, and we've got no Jack Wilshere either, as he has a small knock to his ankle. Charlie, Zabaleta and Balbuena were rested against Cardiff. Antonio and Ogbonna came in and did well. Are they just unfortunate that the 2 players they replaced, their shirts aren't up for grabs, or have they given Pellegrini a big enough headache, in your opinion?
You can make the argument that Antonio maybe has. I think Ogbonna was fine, but then again, I don't think Cardiff were threatening at any real stage to do anything dangerous to him. But what he had in front of him, you know, you can only beat what's in front of you, and what he had in front of him, he dealt with quite well. Antonio, I think there's more of an argument for. I don't think he had this outstanding game that's anywhere near to what Pablo Zabaleta can be on his day. But if he is going to be consistently, if he is going to be in and out of the team as a right back for the foreseeable like month, 2 months, whatever it's going to be, then it might be worth having him play a second game in a row in quick succession at right back, just to continue that form, to continue that thing. Because he did, there were times against Cardiff where he wanted to go forward and you could see something had stopped him. Something was in his brain was going, no, don't risk it yet. Just don't risk it yet. Sometimes he went a bit mad, but that's expected. So I think there is an argument to start him, to give Zabaleta that extra rest, and just to get him again continue in that form of right back, because it's a tough game. It's a tough game against Wilfried Zaha. And so if you want someone to really put the pressure on him, to really test him, to really make him work on that defensive mindset, you could make the argument that Crystal Palace is a perfect person to do it against.
So Charlie, you'd be starting Balbuena and Antonio, would you?
Yeah, I would actually, yeah.
What about yourself, Mike?
Absolutely no way is Antonio going to play it right back in this game. It'll be Zabaleta, and I completely think it should be Zabaleta. I think he's been brilliant all season. He was clearly rested on Tuesday, and he'll be back. That's his shirt. The thing is, we're in December. There are going to be other times you're going to need to rest Zabaleta this month. Antonio will get plenty of chances to wear that shirt again, but not on Saturdays. I've got a feeling it'll be his on Saturday, if you know what I mean. I mean, Zabaleta's been as good as the sort of reviews you, in fact, giving him last season. This season, he's actually playing that well. Do you know what I mean? I think he's playing really well this season. He's been really good defensively, really good moving forward. He looks, I don't know, 5 years younger, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? Suddenly, he really enjoys playing in that style of play that Pellegrini's got the team playing in. Balbuena, that's for sure, he's going back in there. I thought Ogbonna did all right, but I think Balbuena is a different class, really, of defender. Again, I think, though, Ogbonna will be used to rest a player some other time in December, and he's a good player to have for that. But there's no way that both of those aren't coming back in.
Balbuena was a no-brainer for me. For the right back, actually, Pellegrini can't get this wrong, in my opinion. He's got two options. Whatever one he chooses, I completely understand. Zabaleta is up for Hammer of the Year. If it was voted for today, Zabaleta would be in everyone's considerations. One of our most consistent performers and our best players. However, when we played Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park last season, he got roasted by Zaha, and Zabaleta was on a booking very early because he kept making fouls. He had to get subbed off, and I can't remember if it was Kiate or Obiang or Antonio. One of the three came on at right back to replace him. And Zaha just kept going at him, and he was struggling as well because we just could not sort it. So for that reason, I wouldn't be surprised if Pellegrini thought, you know what, I'm going to have the more athletic right back there. So when Zaha tries to take him on for pace, Zaha is a very strong player. Despite his diving abilities, etc., he is a very strong player. I've seen him hold off 3 players in the middle of the pitch, for example, but as soon as he hits the 18-yarder, he somehow can't hold anyone off. But out wide, he will be able to hold off players and brush past them. Antonio is one of our biggest players. He would cause... Also, we're at home to Crystal Palace. And I think this is something we have to remember here. At Cardiff, the emphasis was on us to attack, and it will be again on Saturday. Do we want loads of attacks coming from our right back position as well? If so, then maybe Antonio is the right person to pick for that option. Pellegrini cannot do wrong, in my opinion. The other change he's going to have to do is up front. Markovic out. Hernandez started alongside him, but it means Mike, Carroll or Perez is your option really to come in alongside Hernandez. Are you going with the big Geordie, or are you going with the guy that scored 2 against Cardiff?
I'm going to go with the guy who scored 2 against Cardiff, very obviously. Not just because he scored 2 against Cardiff, though that is a major tick in that box, but also because he has pace, and Pellegrini's team is based around pace. He likes that especially those 2 in the centre, to be mobile, and Perez is very mobile. And you look at the sort of goals we've been scoring all season. They tend to be balls played in on the floor, dinked behind the defence for an attacking player to run onto. We score a lot of goals like that. Perez scored 2 of them on Tuesday to demonstrate he understands that and can score them. They are not Andy Carroll goals. I think Carroll has a role to play as a sub to come on, especially if we're winning. Do you know what I mean? He's a brilliant player to bring on to get in the way if we're winning, or even if we decide to change tactics and launch some high balls in or whatever. But he is definitely not the starting player for me in any way, shape or form.
What about yourself, Charlie? Is it straightforward as that? In comes Perez.
For me, it is. I think he's also like for like the most similar to Arnautovic. Although Arnautovic is sort of, it's almost Perez plus Carroll, and he's got the size and strength of Carroll, and then everything else of Perez. But if you're looking at Hernandez, isn't a great link-up player. He does all right. He does better than I thought he would, to give him credit for. But he's not gonna drop in and create the most incredible chances. Whereas Perez has a bit more in his locker than Carroll does to do that sort of thing. So if you're looking for someone who's going to drop deep and link up well with Anderson, with Snodgrass, with whoever ends up playing in that game, I think he's the better option as part of a two than playing Carroll from the start.
Yeah, I completely agree with you too. He's creative, Perez. He can create as well as a scorer. I'm not sure that's something we could say for Carroll yet, unless it involves a flick on or something. But one thing Charlie says there about the dropping deep, I think Hernandez was doing a lot of that against Newcastle. I think Arnautovic was often the number 9, and Hernandez was going to have to come in. And it'll be interesting to see now Hernandez is the main one. You just stay there, and Perez will come in and drop, etc. It'll be interesting to see if that can benefit from Hernandez, or if actually he's almost having to change his role a little bit. And actually, instead of being the poacher, you're the guy that comes down, because he did very well against Newcastle, dropping deep and being creative and stuff. Charlie, is this game a must win if we've got aspirations for sort of being the best of the rest in the Premier League?
Definitely, yeah. We've now created that little bit of space between us and our group of teams and the teams below us, which Crystal Palace are very much a part of. And if we have any hopes to be, as you say, best of the rest, the best of that group in the sort of middle, then we have to be beating teams like Crystal Palace. As much of a challenge as they will show, I think it just has to be a game where if we're not getting the 3 points, then we're not going to be even close to being the best of the rest, as you put it.
Mike will have 2 players probably change in defence through resting them. We'll have a forced change up front, but it's a case of just do what we have been for the last 2 games and we will win.
Yeah, I really do think that. I think it will be as you were, just without Arnautovic. Do you know what I mean? And I do think if we play that way, we will have too much for Palace. And you're absolutely right, by the way. I agree with you. It is totally, we need to win this just to push us towards being best of the rest. And we haven't won 2 games in succession for the nearly 2 years. Winning 3 is a real statement of intent, isn't it? And not just winning 3, but the way we're winning games. We're winning games playing what we consider our style of football. It's on the floor. And we've got some classy players now who are really hitting, really got them rolling.
Charlie, are you confident for this one?
I am, yeah. I think, as we've brought up, Crystal Palace are a good team defensively. But if we play in the style that we played against Cardiff, and I think although Cardiff were very similar in that they are a defensive side, and we seemed more and more capable of breaking teams like that down earlier in the season, I thought it was our Achilles heel. Whenever teams just sat back and defended, we seemed to just have no clue what to do and didn't really have any incisiveness, whereas we seem to be getting that. And there were times, I think you brought it up in the review actually, there were times in the Cardiff match where the interplay was amazing, like actually genuinely brilliant interplay between our front 4. And if we bring that again against Crystal Palace, then I don't see their centre-backs being capable of dealing with that very well. So, yeah, I am confident.
Mike, are you confident it's going to be 3 wins on the bounce?
Do you know I am? I'm actually more confident about winning this than I was the Cardiff game. I thought that Cardiff would be nastier, if you like. Do you know what I mean? In their defensive play and more stubborn, and they were in the first half, if you think about it. So, yeah, I am really confident about this, yeah.
I am as well. I've got the feeling Palace are going through what we did towards the end of Bilic's tenure, where the fans are starting to get a bit grumpy with the manager a little bit. They absolutely battered Burnley. They had 26 shots or goal or something like that. They were all over them. And then they go to Brighton midweek and 3-0 down after. There's probably the worst 45 minutes of football I've seen from a side this season in the Premier League. 3-0 down to 10 men Brighton. And what's supposed to be a big game for those 2 sides as well. So that defending for the 3rd goal was awful. That is not Premier League defending what we witnessed. While we're sitting here praising Palace defence, their last game, which we can only go by, was shocking, absolutely shocking. If we turn up, we're going to carve them up. If the Palace turn up like they did against Brighton, we turn up like we have done the last 2 games, we will carve this lot open pretty easily. But we have to expect that they won't turn up like they did against Brighton. I think they'll be up for this one. One player we haven't mentioned, which I'll be interested to see if Roy starts him, is Connor Wickham, purely because he's a big physical presence and it could actually benefit Zaha. I don't think he's a fantastic player. He's always one of those players with potential, but he's never ever going to go further than he is, which is bottom in the Premier League, for example. But I'm extremely confident for this one as well. So, Charlie, would you like to kick off with the score predictions, please?
I think we're going to have too much for them. I do believe they might get a goal, just because I think if we get caught out on the counter attack, they can be very, very good. But I think I'm confident, so I'm going to go with 3-1 West Ham.
Mike?
3-0 West Ham.
I'm going to agree with Charlie here. We won 3-1 during the week. They lost 3-1, and I don't mind conceding a goal every single game where we're scoring 3. So it's 3-1 for me and Charlie, 3-0 for Mike. Let us know below in the comments what you would like to see up front. Are you going with Perez like the three of us, or would you like to see Andy Carroll there? What about the right back? Charlie wants Antonio. Mike wants Zabalacha. I'm sitting on the fence, really. I'm not fussed. I'm happy with whatever Pellegrini decides. But that is probably the best compliment you can give Pellegrini, where the fans really don't mind about what we see anymore because we have faith in the manager. If you've enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. Subscribe if you're new. We'll be back straight after the game on this channel live with our review of the game. Hopefully celebrating 3 wins from 3 for West Ham. See you in a bit.